Cheers, and you buckaroos, and how Dick are you? I thought I'd come back and have a cocktail with you. Waited just a little bit. I made a version of a old fashioned. Let me get fixed up here. There we go. That should set us up. Let's see if that works. There we go. Found this background, this nice looking little kind of Christmas pub, so I thought we'd set it up for a holiday cocktail or a holiday version of an old fashioned. I do like mine straight up. I know most folks like them with an ice cube in them. Although if you will look up early recipes of the cocktail, you will find it served straight up, much like a Manhattan. Try to adjust my deal just a little bit there. There we go. So here's what I got in here. I did an old fashioned. I did a ginger old fashioned yesterday with Bloody Butcher, but I used this other bottle here that a friend had given me. Bought barrel number 559, 60.7. This time I decided to use the bottle that I bought. Wood Hat, a single barrel Bloody Butcher Red Corn Whiskey, 60.3%. This is bottle 1003. And I got to tell you, these things are so vastly different. If they didn't come in the same bottle and have the same label, I wouldn't have thought it was the same whiskey. They really are that different. So here's what I have in here. I've got 2 ounces of the whiskey. I got 1 ounce of my ginger orange thyme, ginger orange thyme simple syrup. What I did here, though, is I changed up the bitters. I went with the cranberry bitters in the spirit of the holiday. And just that one subtle change really makes a lot of difference. The garnish is some candied ginger. Damn, that's nice. As you can see, I got the holiday glass out. I hadn't broke out all of them yet because, quite frankly, I don't have any place to put them. But we did have this one already out, so I figured, oh, what the hell? Why not, man? Just why not? Oh, biscuits and sláinte. Yeah, I do like the Bloody Butcher. It seems to be a hit or a miss when I run into folks that have had it. They seem to either really like it or really not. There doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground. I will tell you, though, again, there is a vast difference between the 2 bottles, and I really like the one that I'd purchased better. The flavors are just much different. For the longest time, I didn't like an old fashioned. It turns out I just don't like somebody else making me an old fashioned. Most folks like that drink very sweet, and it's become a trend to use Buffalo Trace, especially with younger folks. When I say younger, I mean people under 40s. It's been a trend to use a Buffalo Trace, and for me, if you're going to use a bourbon to make an old fashioned and not a rye, you really need to use a traditional bourbon. You got to use a bourbon that uses rye as a secondary, or it's just too sweet. That's the problem with Buffalo Trace, is it's just too sweet. And then you've got folks that want to make it, they want to do 1.5 ounces of whiskey, 1.5 ounces of simple syrup or sugar cubes or whatever they're using, and the drink has just becomes sickeningly sweet. So I've played with a lot of versions, especially during 2020, but even since then, I've really, tinkered around. Yeah, I don't mind the drink. I just have to do it my way. In this particular case, it's about 2 ounces of the whiskey, about 1 ounce of the simple syrup. I just think folks like to make it way too sweet. And again, if you're making a Manhattan or even an old fashioned, rye is a way to go. But if you're going to use bourbon, and I have many times, as a matter of fact, but you got to use that traditional bourbon that uses rye as a secondary that keeps that sweetness in check. If you're using a bourbon like Buffalo Trace or even Blanton's, you end up with this very sweet cocktail. And I think those younger folks seem to have those sweeter palates. They like that extra sugar. And being an old guy, I do not. I don't want to drink that sweet. That's why, for years I just said I didn't like an old fashioned. It just turns out I didn't like anybody else but me making one. I like the idea of an old fashioned, let's just say. I just don't like the execution. So I've always preferred a Manhattan. But again, the weakest link in a Manhattan for me has always been the sweet vermouth. So I've played around with alternatives. I've used rye. Right. I'm sorry. I've used port. I've used cream sherry. I've used different things. In my latest incarnation, I did an almond Manhattan where I've swapped out the sweet vermouth with amaretto and then used almond bitters. So I got this almond Manhattan going on. I've also used Applejack in the past, which makes a very nice Manhattan as well. We'll set you free though, because there's a lot of alcohol there. It'll set you free, baby. I think some people take cocktail recipes too serious. A lot of folks look at these recipes like they're etched in stone. Even the garnishes, some folks are really militant about, no, it has to be like this. And I'm telling you, it doesn't. I mean, again, if you look at the earliest incarnation of an old fashioned, most of the early recipes use that cherry as a garnish, the same as a Manhattan, not an orange peel. Get creative. In this case, I'm using the ginger simple syrup, so I'm using candied ginger. And that makes this beautiful cocktail again. And I use these cranberry bitters, giving it that holiday feel, if you will. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I do use a large cube in an old fashioned from time to time. Lately, I've just been feeling it straight up, especially during these winter months. If I'm going to have a cocktail, I do prefer straight up, which is maybe one of the reasons I've always preferred a Manhattan, because a Manhattan is almost always served straight up, whereas an old fashioned is mostly served on the rocks, and I'm just not crazy about on the rocks cocktails. This is why, again, I like the Martini for the same reason. I like a straight up cocktail. Man, that is tasty. That is really tasty, man. That's a nice drink. I don't care who you are. Dashing through the snow. I apologize. This is the first video I've done this season using the Christmas music, but I like the background. I should have muted the music though. I could have muted and still use the bar scene. I like this bar scene though. I really do. It's a nice looking bar scene. It's kind of rustic, but still nice. I'm just that upscale kind of guy. I'm clearly a working class guy. I like a working class bar. Anyway, sláinte. Well, my day off shrink is about ended. I've got 3 in a row. I had Sunday, Monday. I'm off tomorrow. Then I'm back to work on Wednesday. But then I'm off Thursday and Friday. But then I'm back Saturday and Sunday. I took Friday off because last year there's this winery my wife likes, and there's a brewery that I really like, and they're only about 15 minutes apart. And last year they did this great Black Friday special. Both of them did. But circumstances prevented us from going, so I took the Friday off so we could go, and neither one of them are doing the same thing. So one of them is doing their thing on Saturday, which I have to work. So I took the Friday off specifically so I could catch their Black Friday, and they're not doing a Black Friday. They're doing their thing on Saturday. Ain't that a bitch? So anyway, I don't know what we'll do, because originally I thought we would just take off. Sometimes we like to disappear on Thanksgiving for a lot of personal reasons. So I thought we'll get a little room by both those places, so we're right there when they open Friday. Neither one of them are doing the thing they were doing last year. So Nevertheless, I'm off, and typically I'd be off the Saturday, but the person that usually works Saturday needed it off, and I told them I'd go ahead and work it because I thought everything would be going on Friday, but instead it's going on Saturday, so I'm screwed. Oh well. Uh, Life gives you lemons. I make a whiskey sour, man. So I don't know. I'll keep looking. Maybe something else will pop up. I've been trying to research different places, look up different websites, social media pages, just to see if some place within driving distance is doing a thing. Most every place is closed Thursday, which I expect them to be. I don't want anybody to have to work Thanksgiving. So I wish every place would close. But I was looking for things that might be doing something Friday that we can get out there for, but it just ain't happening. It's just not in the cards for me this year. Yeah, last year we lost our cat Shadow just before Thanksgiving. I mean, just before. So we didn't go out, and because we'd already planned to go out that direction, but we just circumstances prevented us from getting out there. But I really thought they'd do the same thing this year, but none of them are doing the same thing. Uh, so typically when I make this ginger old fashioned, I use my cardamom bitters, but I want to do something different. I wanted to kind of again switch over to Thanksgiving mentality and use these cranberry, and they work. I will kind of change up the once I get through the simple syrup. I'll change it up. I don't have any dry cranberries, or I might make cranberry simple syrup, but I do have some hibiscus in there, so I might, to give it the pigments, do a hibiscus simple syrup in there. Oh, do we? I'll see if that'll work then. Jackie, how are you? Good to hear from you. Always nice talking cocktails with you. Yeah, so I made this simple syrup with some dried ginger, dried orange peel, and fresh thyme. But yeah, like I said, I do have some hibiscus. Basically, these are things we bought from a tea shop a few months back. But they work just the same in making a simple syrup as they would in making a tea. But again, I do have some hibiscus, and I have something else in there. I have mint, uh, but I'm not going to use mint for that simple syrup. But I thought I had something else in there. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna post your comments, Jackie. Yeah, so my wife likes a lot too. We found this tea shop. We were staying in Liberty, Missouri for a couple of days. I had this really neat little tea shop on the square there. And she was finding stuff for teas. I was finding stuff to make simple syrup out of. But it worked. It worked out for both of us. We bought a lot of stuff in there. No, but these nice. It was just nice dried orange peel, which makes gives you great aromatics as well, which is just as important in the cocktail as the flavor. So I had this dried ginger, and we had the dried orange peel, but we had fresh thyme. My wife had made some or grew some fresh thyme, so I just used the fresh thyme in there. The trick is you put it in there when your water's hot to get all those oils out of it. And then we picked up some two different kinds of candied ginger when we were at Trader Joe's in the Kansas City area. So that's what I've got in here as a garnish. Is that dried or that candied ginger rather? So, but it does sweeten the drink a little bit because it's candied ginger, so you got that sugar all around it. So, and then sugar dissolves into your cocktail, so it sweetens it up a little bit. So you don't need quite as much simple syrup because that candied ginger is going to add a little something else. Uh, you got anything working this evening? Any holiday cocktails you're working on or going to be doing anytime soon? I like to play around with different things this time of year just to see what works and what doesn't. Not everything's going to be a home run. but you got to keep swinging. I was saying earlier, a lot of folks look at cocktail recipes like they're etched in stone. It says sent from God to Moses on stone tablets. Don't be afraid to make some changes. That's what it's there for. Change the liquor, change the simple syrup or sugar or whatever your other ingredient is. Different bitters make a difference too. Bitters make more of a difference than you might think. Mulled wine for Thursday, very nice. Yeah, we picked up some stuff a couple weeks ago to do a sort of a mulled wine, so we may do that. Kind of depends on what our weather's doing. We were very warm, then we got extremely cold. It got back warm again, and now we're back to winter weather again. So I don't know what's going on here. Anyways, I digress. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom. Jackie, thanks for tuning in. All right, good guys. Launch you.